That was all of the MiraCosta choirs singing at the last choir concert. The song from one of my favorite musicals, Wicked. How many people have seen Wicked? The song is For Good. It's one of the critical moments of friendship in the story. And so I wanted to play it, not only because I love going to all of the choir concerts at MiraCosta, but I know that you all appreciate choir music. And wasn't that lovely? I loved it because it was all of the choirs together, and I love how they do that at the end of the choir concert. After they feature different choirs and their different uniqueness, they bring them all together and blend them all in and sing these wonderful songs. It's good to be back here in the pulpit. I haven't been here since May when we were doing some things like confirmation and senior scholarships and fourth grade Bibles. And I think you'll recall that my last sermon was about 5 minutes long. So you're probably hoping, yeah, 5 minutes, she's got it. I'll do my best, but I have a daunting task today, which is to introduce our summer theme. It's based off of a book. I know you guys are like, a book? Really? Another book? No, we read here. Sorry if it's your first time, just to let you know, we read. And this book is called 11 Indispensable Relationships You Can't Be Without. And it basically features different biblical characters and how those kinds of people enhance our lives and make our lives better on this faith journey. And one of the quotations that sort of sums up the book for me is, the real meaning of life is not a journey question or an arrival question. It's a relational question. Who are you journeying with? So this song from Wicked, I didn't choose it just because it's pretty, although it is, and because they did a great song, although they did a great job with it. But it's because it has a meaning to it. Now, I saw the cast when it came to Los Angeles. Did anyone see the original Broadway cast? Raise your hand so I can be terribly jealous of you. No? Okay. But I wish I had, because I love Kristen Chenoweth and Idina Menzel. And for those under the age of 25, those are two characters that have been on Glee. Okay? For everyone else, they are, Tony Award-winning stars of the stage. And so what you have in Wicked is this alternate universe that's been created that talks about the witches of what favorite famous childhood movie? Does anyone know? Yes. So you have these witches, you have the good witch and the bad witch, who are characterized in this famous movie. And what Wicked does is it goes back in time a little bit and gives you possibly a little history about what could have really gone on. And so you have Elphaba and Glinda, and they are two very different characters that come together in friendship and change each other. And so the song says this. Normally it's a duet, but I love how the choir did it all in one sweeping chorus together, and then you heard the guys and then the girls. I didn't know if you noticed that, kind of sweeping in some of those contexts and contrasts. And what Glinda's part says is, she says, I've heard it said that people come into our lives for a reason, bringing something we must learn. And we are led to those people who help us most to grow, if we let them. And we help them in return. Well, I don't know if I believe that's true, but I know that I am who I am today because of you. And Elphaba responds, it well may be that we will never meet again in this lifetime. So let me say this before we part. So much of me is made from what I learned from you. You'll be with me, and this image I love, capture this image, like a handprint on my heart. And now, whatever way our stories end, I know you have rewritten mine by being my friend. Who can say if I've been changed for the better? But because I knew you, I've been changed for good. Isn't that beautiful? Because I knew you, I've been changed for the better. And the song plays a little bit on the notion of being changed for good, because it has two kind of playful meanings. It means I've been changed forever, and And that could be both a good thing and a bad thing. And then they play on the notion of, but we think it's for good. We think it's for the better that this has been changed. Matt read, thank you, Matt, from the part in Mark where Jesus basically, as he's starting to do his ministry, invites people to come alongside him. And I'll read the central part again that I'm going to focus on today. It says, Jesus appointed the 12, designating them apostles so they might be with them. And you might say, well, what is this strange word apostle? It's the Greek term for like one sent as a messenger. So sending out, a carrying, like you bear something, to bear something. We get, from the Latin translation of this text, we get the word missio, which means missionary, okay? Same word as apostle. So Jesus took authority and he appointed people. And why did he appoint them? To be with him, to be with him. Another quote from the book is, you might call the gospel a theology of journey. Now, we talk about that a bit at this church. We talk about being on a journey of faith in terms of moving forward all together as a church, heading somewhere, but realizing that while the destination is important, who you're with in this journey makes it or breaks it. That who's sitting next to you, that who goes to Habitat Build with you. We've done Habitat Build several times, and while it's wonderful to create something, we're a creative bunch, right? We're creating something from nothing. We're creating buildings, putting up walls. Well, some of us are just hammering little things in. They never give me big responsibilities. That's okay. But the stories from the high schoolers and now the college kids who will be here generally are, well, you remember when that happened? And oh my gosh, you remember when that happened? Because they remember the time they spent together in that long, hot day in the sun, generally, building something. Because who you are with is almost as important as what you accomplish along the way. Because who you are with creates the atmosphere for you to grow or stay the same. And I know that some of us are going to be traveling this summer, and we spend a lot of time putting together our luggage, right? Who does lists when you pack? I do lists. I know, it's compulsive and weird. I get it. But anyone who goes on a journey knows that pretty much anywhere you go, you can buy new toothpaste, but you can't buy a new companion. So who you go with on these journeys is almost as important, or even more so important, than the luggage you have carried with you. Although luggage is important and we weigh it and we make sure it's not over a certain amount and we carry it around with us. But the people we meet along the way, along this journey, or the people we bring with us, are really what make the journey unique and special and engaging. Jesus, when he asked these fellow travelers to come with him, these disciples, these apostles, these missionary people to come with him, he talks a lot about something called the kingdom of God. Reverend Michael called it the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom of the one who is in heaven, and how children have it. And some people in Christian history have reduced the notion of this apostleship, this witnessing, this moving through with the story of Jesus to just a witnessing about Christ, talking about Jesus, maybe giving you a tract, maybe having a conversation steered in a certain direction. You've ever been in a conversation with someone and you're like, I think they're ticking off a box. I'm their share for today, right? So we can share about Jesus, but that's not really what witnessing is about, what apostleship is about, what missio is about. Do you see how it's greater than anything we can discuss? Because if it's something that could just be discussed, then Jesus wouldn't need to have these people live with him and be with him and encamp around him in order to teach them. And I think that embraced, lived out faith that Jesus shows us with his disciples is how we are supposed to live as the church. And so in the ministry of Jesus, the first thing he does is ask for friends to be with him. Now, friends on a mission, friends that he'll challenge, friends that he'll give authority to, but friends nonetheless. For Jesus needed people to journey with him. Now, he appoints the 12. Are they his secretaries or his administrators? Maybe that's the more PC term. Sorry. I was one. You can call me secretary. To send out emails, to send out letters. Are they supposed to get his dry cleaning? No. They're supposed to have, we learn in verse 15, authority. Authority. For the purpose of authority. And in order for you to have authority, you need to know how to wield authority, don't you? You need to know in what correct way you are supposed to engage in this authority that's been given you. And so Jesus journeys with them. He doesn't just give them something and then walk away. He journeys with them, showing them, teaching him by his example how to use authority. And note that Jesus didn't do for them what they could do for themselves. Jesus didn't do for them what they could do for themselves. He asked them to engage with him on a journey, and he didn't do all the work for them. He asked them to come together, to be there, to engage, to work, to go out. There's times where he sends them out and sends them away to do something, so that they're not just a group hanging out, discussing stuff, and thinking they're all cool. They're on a mission. They've got things to do. And note, we're talking about the withness of Christ. I hope you got that kind of withness as opposed to witness, which we hear a lot in Christianity. The withness of Christ. Not the forness of Christ. Doesn't do it for us. And not the witlessness of Christ. Just wanted to make that little distinction for you. And the witness is not a phrase I coined. Sorry, I'm creative, but not that creative. It's a phrase that Leonard Sweet coins when he talks about indispensable relationships. He says, we are to model the kind of relationships that Jesus had. We are to be with each other. And any parent knows that the best kind of parenting isn't you doing things for your kids. It's living alongside them and with them and encouraging them to go out on their own. Encouraging them to be who they are. I'm not a parent, and I find that I'm with my nieces. I want to do things for them. Oh, she's going to fall. Oh, I'll get that for you. And my friend Jody, who's the parent of my niece, is not my sister. It's a long story. Basically says, no, Corinne can do that. Corinne can do that. She's fine doing that. And this past week, I spent Wednesday night with my nieces, and I always like to update you. I hope it's okay. My 2-year-old niece fell and got an owie. If you're on Facebook with me, you saw that little conversation. She got an owie on her knee, and it hurt. And we were putting them to bed, my 2-year-old niece and my 4-year-old niece. And when my 2-year-old niece cries and throws tantrums, I've noticed that my 4-year-old niece becomes very compliant and very good. Do you have that dynamic with kids? Yeah. So we were going to put a Band-Aid on her knee, on her owie, and I think maybe she misheard us into thinking that we were going to put shards of glass on her knee. Because the fit she threw about a Band-Aid was one I had never seen her throw before. No Band-Aid! It was like Band-Aid was the most painful thing in the world. So I try to explain, Auntie Erin's had Band-Aids and they've helped me out. We kind of talk her down a little bit, and we finally get the Band-Aid on her after she's kind of calmed down. And then, of course, the compliant 4-year-old sister says, I'll have a Band-Aid. She's got no owie.